It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay. Welcome to the Opperman Report. I am your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting through my website, emailrevealer.com. You contact me directly at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Let's see. If you like our show, be sure and check out our Patreon. Much stuff. Happy weekend to you, my friend. Much stuff in Patreon. A lot of paper, court docs we have up there. The Trump indictment stuff. The Devin Archer transcript, unedited. The Lev Parnas. Lev Parnas was Rudy Giuliani's partner. He knew about the whole scam with the Hunter Biden laptop going way back. In fact, that was, and they tried to get him. He was involved in a lot of stuff, man. Lev Parnas is a good guy. A good guess. He's got a lot of good information. So he has a letter that he wrote to Representative Comer that pretty much debunks all of their theories about the Hunter Biden laptop. And the guy should know. He was on the plane with Sean Hannity and Rudy Giuliani heading to Vienna to pick up a version of the laptop when Giuliani, at the last second, canceled the flight. I said, can't make it. Gotta go. Got big tits waiting for me. And then they got on the plane and they arrested Lev Parnas. But they're all... who cares, right? It's too real. People don't want to know what's really going on. Ed, what about the big guy? What about the laptop from hell, Ed? What about that? What about Sean Hannity being on the plane with this dealeroo? He hasn't denied it. Lev Parnas is a known guy. Anyway, what am I going on here about? Our archives are free. Go to Spreaker.com and do a live show every 8 p.m. every Friday night. There's a chat room, and you get an email notification when I put up new content. I play repeats there every night. You can join for free, Spreaker.com. It's the same stuff you find on Apple Plays, where the majority of the listeners listen on Apple Plays. And then second is Spreaker.com. So if you moved over to Spreaker, you'd get all those notifications and stuff, and you get the chat room. But what do you call it? We're going to be driving a lot of traffic. If you can share and retweet the episodes the next 4 months, this is when all the big advertising revenues comes in, so it's very important that we build up listeners at this time of the year. Let's see what's going on. Got a lot of notes going on here, guys. A lot of notes. And I had a really bad phone call right before the show, the kind of sad news and difficult news, but what do? You got to struggle with these kind of things. Also coming up, let's see, I'm going to be named in a lawsuit. Okay. Probably a couple of lawsuits, perhaps a countersuit as well. Very least going to be a witness in all this. It'll be coming out in the next few weeks. You'll be hearing about all this stuff, settling a lot of family business. Okay, all at once. Coming up after this, what did I pull up for you? Jeremy Lubert wrote this book about, what is the name of that book? I don't know if I have it. But it's about that case in Wisconsin. I think it's Wisconsin. Where that guy set up the booby trap for his neighbors to come break into his house, and then he shot them dead. He left the dead bodies there overnight over the Thanksgiving weekend. And then he was convicted for it. So we get into all that about the Castle Doctrine and stand your ground. And all this crazy stuff. I'm probably going to have him come back so we can get into it in more detail, because we did touch on it. But you see all these videos. I love to watch the fight videos on Instagram Reels and on YouTube and stuff. The public freakouts, the public fights and stuff. And you'll see these guys, if you don't touch me, if you touch me, if you lay one finger on me, then people think that if all you have to do is touch somebody, and that gives you the right to start pummeling away at them or shooting them even, where that's not the case at all. You're going to get arrested for battery if you do that, okay? And it has to be reasonable self-defense. Someone can't just touch you or brush against you or breathe on you, and then you have the right to start shooting them. That's just not the way things work. Or if they trespass on your property. Oh, Ed, but I live in Texas. We have standards. Trust me on this. Trust me on this. Well, listen to the show tonight, and you hear yourself. This was the state. I forget what it was. Michigan, Wisconsin. They're all the same to me. They have that castle doctrine there, but the guy was still convicted. It's just not how it works. I did a great show on this once called Play Misty for Me, but the audio was so low. How's the audio tonight, man? We got Shane in the chat room. Is the audio loud enough there for you, Shane? Because it's usually great when I'm broadcasting live, but then sometimes when we put it up as a podcast, it comes out real low. So we have that coming up after this, Jeremy Lubert, and then we have a guest, J.J. Vance, coming on about the Idaho 4 and his theories and reporting on that. I believe he has a podcast or a YouTube channel where he discusses the different things in the news. And we talked about those Indian mounds. I actually visited one in Florida. I've always found it to be very interesting, too, and he talks about that quite a bit. So we discussed that a bit, too. We had David Wheeler back from Muckrakers, American Muckrakers, I think it is, on AmericanMuckrakers.com, and Fire Bobert. And he's got a lawsuit coming up with Lauren Boebert. She was claiming, I'm going to sue Dan Wheeler and American Muckrakers for defamation. She never sued him. He wound up suing her for defamation. So now comes her response, and let's see what happens there. Interviewed Christian Cipollini, had him back for the third time about his new film called Dope Men, which is really good. It's about how organized crime and the mafia were involved, and then the heroin smuggling back in the 1920s and things like that. And really big names like Al Capone and who's that guy who fixed the World Series? I forget his name right now, but a lot of the film is about him and how much he was involved in this drug trade. Herman Rothstein, who fixed the World Series, but was also involved in the drug trade. Just interviewed a woman today about her book about Alex Murdaugh and the Murdaugh murders, and we got into more of the smuggling and also sex trafficking that went on with that bunch over there, too. She's got some interesting theories, wrote a 700-page book that I would really recommend because she knows her stuff, that's for sure. Have an interview coming up with a woman. Maybe I shouldn't tip my hand too much on this, but she was involved with an adoption agency. And the adoption agency came to my attention because they were Instagram friends with a notorious Instagrammer who owned a pizzeria over there in Washington, D.C., where they love to play table games, tennis type games with paddles and ping pong balls. And this fellow here had a relationship with David Brock. Certain names and words you can't mention in this topic. But anyway, so this adoption agency was friends with him on Instagram. And she had a really wild experience with this adoption agency. And she has new information about this adoption agency and the people involved in it and their world travels. So hopefully we'll get her on the show. We were supposed to tape today. It was a cancellation last minute. And then also, too, we have a show coming up about the CIA on campus and that movement to get the CIA off college campuses back in the 70s and the 60s. So a lot of good content coming up for you. What a wacky week it's been. I agree with you. About the wacky week. It's been a wacky week. A wacky week. What are we going to do? The week is so wacky. About to be named as a witness. Okay, well, then we talked about that. Keep an eye out. Sunday mornings. The minute I wake up, the first thing I do is I run to my computer. That's me running. I run over there and then I play the May Brussels archives in cooperation and partnership with the May Brussels Project with the Daughters of May Brussels, and of course my good friend Glenna, who and we talk about I don't talk about anything. I just play the archives. You can listen to it for yourself. And then right after that, I play Casey Gain, who has his own podcast series called Reality Theory. It wasn't getting as much attention as you wanted, so I said, hey, Casey, man, I'd love to put you on the platform here, get you some new listeners, and that's been very popular, too, as well. Casey Gain does great work. Check out his book, CIA Secret War in Jamaica. Tonight I'll be talking to you about something came to my attention about George Nader. Now, you might remember George Nader. Well, Ed, everybody's talking about George Nader. What do you want to talk about George Nader, Ed? Me and Pierce Redmond were the first people to discover George Nader and his criminal record. Okay, years and years. We were talking about like 2013, 2014. We spotted this character. George Nader. I played a couple of repeats about George Nader and his behavior. Now, here's the deal. Let me pull up the George Nader Wikipedia page. Okay. Now, this guy has a series of arrests and convictions for child pornography, possession of child pornography, films, magazines from the Netherlands, going way back to 1985. Okay, with the prepubescent boys engaged in sexual acts. Now, that case was dismissed due to an invalid search warrant back in 1985. And then a federal court in Virginia in 1991 gave him a 6-month sentence on a felony charge of transporting pornographic videotapes from Germany of boys 13 and 14 years old. Prosecutors agreed to put the case under seal due to the extremely sensitive nature of Mr. Nader's work in the Middle East. Turns out he was friends. We did a whole show about this with this fellow from the United Arab Emirates, who also has a reputation for these kind of interests and stuff like this. In 2003, he was convicted in Prague, Czech Republic, of sexually abusing 10 boys, for which he served 1 year in prison. What's that, like a 1 month for each victim, right? That's in Prague, in the Czech Republic. You'd think over there they're a little tougher. But, in America, we have more people in prison here than anywhere on the planet. But I guess not when it comes to child pornography. They get the little slap on the wrist and drop charges. So he gets busted in the Czech Republic. He gets this conviction here for sex with little boys. The crime took place around 1999 to 2000.
Want to build the bet you want in seconds? With Unibet's Bet Builder, you're on. Add shots, corners, cards, and more. And increase your odds with Bet Builder Rackers, combining bet builders across multiple games and sports. Download the Unibet app or visit unibet.co.uk and get a Bet Builder boost every day. Unibet. You're on. 18 plus, begambleaware.org. Pre-match only, max stake £10 minimum, combined odds of 4-1 and 3 selections. T's and C's apply.
You may have heard about People's Postcode Lottery and often wondered, how does it work? Playing is simple. You sign up for a monthly subscription of £12, guaranteeing you entry into every draw, and your ticket is your postcode. Prizes are won every day, including Millionaire Street, where one lucky postcode wins a share of £1 million every Saturday. Also, at the end of the month, players in one postcode area win a share of a minimum of £3.2 million. A minimum of 33% of every ticket goes to charities and good causes across Great Britain and beyond, with a staggering £1.1 billion raised so far. So, for a chance to win, sign up before midnight on the 24th of August to play in the September draws, and the next winning postcode could be yours. PPL managed lotteries on behalf of good causes. 18 plus, conditions apply. Play responsibly. Not available in Northern Ireland.
2002. In one case, in his room at the Hilton Prague, he molested a 14-year-old boy. Then in June 2018, when he started coming onto, he got on our radar here. Around 2014, 2015, when we saw he was meeting with Michael Flynn, the national security advisor for Donald Trump. Who Michael Flynn was Trump's longtime friend. He used to fly with him on the plane during the campaign. Trump appointed him as national security advisor. He had to resign in disgrace and scandal for lying to the vice president, and all kinds of craziness came up in his life. The guy sues everybody in existence who mentions his name. He's actually was headquartered in bicycle riding distance of me. Okay. So I got to watch my step. This guy was talking to the president of Turkey about going to kidnap a guy, throwing a sack over his head and kidnapping him and delivering him back to Turkey for a fee. So, isn't that the kind of guy I want to piss off? Okay, to be honest with you. I got a little company staying with me where they got a dog, so I'm a little safer than usual, of course. But, a sack could be coming my way. I can't take out a sack. I have to train this dog to fight people with sacks. Saks Fifth Avenue. Now, he was also involved, Mr. Nader, with Blackwater. They hired him to help with contracts in the Iraqi government in 2010. So the guys, he was meeting with Jared Kushner, Michael Flynn, and Steve Bannon in the White House around 2016. Met with Donald Trump Jr. at Trump Tower, offered his assistance to his father's presidential campaign. So the guy's been very busy. Now, as you know, I'm a private investigator. Very often, a client will come to me. He's going to have an upcoming meeting with a new person he's never met before. He wants to have a background check with that person to know who he's dealing with. When you're going to be meeting with people like the National Security Advisor of the President of the United States, and you're going to be meeting with them at the White House with the President's son, with the President's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, with the President's top advisor, Steve Bannon, it would be customary and cursory routine to perform a basic background check on the person you're meeting with. Hey, do they have any kind of criminal record? Do they have any kind of bizarre lawsuits in their background? Do they have any bankruptcies? Do they have financial problems? Are they overextended? Any kind of weird sources of income? We should know about any lawsuits. Are they litigious? I mean, the guy wants to come and talk to me, do business with me. Am I going to wind up in a lawsuit with this guy? Is he suing everybody he meets? No kind of frivolous, vexatious lawsuits? You want to check into these things before you meet with them. There is no way on the face of this earth Jared Kushner, Michael Flynn, Steve Bannon, and Donald Trump Jr. were not aware of this fellow's extensive history of child rape and child pornography before they met with him, before they went into business with him. There is no doubt in my mind they were not aware of this. They went ahead and met with him anyway. It was all positive dealings until he was questioned by the Mueller investigation, and they took possession of his cell phones when he was on his way to Mar-a-Lago. He was heading over to Mar-a-Lago when they intercepted him and intercepted his cell phone. And they found on that cell phone, in their investigation of him and his nefarious activities with the Trump family, they found child pornography and bestiality on his cell phone, because the guy's so into this stuff he can't even leave his home without some on his phone. Okay? So they find this material on his phone while he's on the way to Mar-a-Lago to meet with, I'm assuming, the resident of Mar-a-Lago. Okay? Now, that's interesting enough. There was a time in our history of our country that would be a 24-hour news story. Okay? Good friend of the National Security Advisor and the President's son, President's advisor, Steve Bannon, is in possession of child pornography. Stop the presses. Right? Not today. That's nothing. But what is big news, and what I'm reporting today, that's new news, because I know you've heard this before from me first, and then you heard it from other people's repeating what they heard from me. Okay? But what is brand new just came out recently. What you can do, you can try this yourself. You can go to the Bureau of Prisons website and look up George Nader. You put in inmate lookup and the Bureau of Prisons, okay? And it would come up when he's, and he's not in custody. Not in BOP custody without a release date. So that means right now he is not sitting in prison. He is out of prison. Probably has some kind of secured housing. A docket review of George Nader, okay, cases indicate many sealed filings consistent with Government Rule 35B post-sentence reduction motion for cooperation, which means, ladies and gentlemen, that is my educated opinion that they have flipped Mr. George Nader, and he's going to be cooperating probably in the Jack Smith cases here. We're looking at What's he an expert on? Okay, what is this guy do? He's done a lot of negotiations that are over there in the Middle East and stuff like that, but what's his specialty? Okay, let's see if that stuff's going to start coming out. But our esteemed Trump family there. And by the way, Mr. Trump is not the only one in that family that has that kind of proclivities. We have information of other members of the family that also have that kind of interest in relationships in real life, 16-year-olds of their employ. So we have breaking news. It appears that Mr. George Nader has flipped. He's cooperating with the government. There's filings that indicate that. And he is currently not in custody of the Bureau of Prisons. That's your breaking news there on George Flippin Nader. Now let's move on to another story. Got many, many stories for you this evening, but another one. Okay, real quick. This is a quickie for you. Came out this week that the X, formerly known as Twitter, and Mr. Elon Musk, they handed a search warrant, a court-ordered search warrant, not a civil subpoena, a criminal court-ordered search warrant for the private messages and data of Mr. Donald J. Trump Twitter activity. Former President of the United States. Former President Mr. Trump. Now, Mr. Musk didn't just hand this over. And I used to be in the cell phone business, the beeper business, and you get a search warrant, and they want to know, hey, who owns this beeper? You got to turn that over. And then very often, we would say, well, we're going to warn the client that, he's being, and there's a thing they can do. They can put a non-disclosure thing, and they don't always put it in there. If they do, you can't tell the client, but if they don't put it in there, you can tell the client. But we would kind of tell the client anyway. We would kind of contact them discreetly and tell them, hey, there's a problem. Come in and talk to me in person. But in this case, Mr. Elon Musk had his attorneys fight the turnover of the search warrant based on free speech. Now, I haven't seen the filings, okay? But now my speculation in this, why would Elon Musk care that the Department of Justice was getting a hold of Donald Trump's private messages and data information from Twitter? Why would he care? They got to turn those things over every single day, the search warrants and subpoenas and court orders to preserve this data and this information. And that happens every single day at Twitter, at Facebook, at Instagram, at all these, Gmail, all these places. They get an order and preserve the information, and then they get the order to turn over the information. But he fought it. He paid $350,000. This is quite a legal battle here to fight this, and he was fined or to pay the state's and the federal government's legal fees. Why would he go to such an extent? Well, here's my speculation. If he's filing a response, a lawsuit against the government, he could attach an exhibit, which would be all of Donald Trump's private messages, tweets, and all his information, all of his data from Twitter. He could attach that as an exhibit. And now, since he's the plaintiff in this lawsuit, he can review that data because it's part of an exhibit he's attaching to a lawsuit, to a complaint, okay? He has access to that information. There's many reasons why you file a lawsuit, where you may become a witness in a lawsuit, where you may be named in a lawsuit, and sometimes you do it. If you're in a situation where there's a privacy issue, and I can't come right out and say, hey, I did a job for so-and-so, and this guy found out that he's guilty, and he hired me to prove he was innocent, but I know he's guilty. I can't ethically and legally come out there and betray my client, especially if I'm working for an attorney. It's attorney-client privilege information. But if I go back and file a lawsuit and say, hey, this guy never paid me, and here's a copy of the report I did for him, and if you look at this report, it shows he's guilty. He tried me to find him not guilty. There's a lot of reasons why you'll file a lawsuit. This could be one. So keep an eye out for that. My predictions usually come true. You can count on one finger the number of times I've been wrong. And take that finger and stick it up your nose and pick your nose. Craig D. Robertson. Okay, now this is the part about blocking people on Facebook. Craig D. Robertson, interesting fellow, 75 years old, firearms enthusiast, lives in Utah, and the fellow was writing a bunch of threats about Biden, about he's going to go put on his sniper outfit. He had one of those sniper outfits that you can cover your whole body with and go out in the woods, and you look like another bush in the woods. He had sniper rifles, several, a whole bunch of arsenal of weapons there. He talked about previously, the FBI came to his door about his internet activity, and he posted about it later on Facebook saying, hey, good thing I had my 45 on me. They were trying to suppress my right to free speech, and I was going to shoot them down, all this kind of stuff. Okay? Now, if the FBI visits your house, and then later on you say, hey, oh, by the way, at the time I had a 45 on me, and I was contemplating shooting them. Okay, that's then the next time the FBI is going to come to your house, they're going to take that into consideration, just like I would if I'm showing up at your house. And then I find, I was packing, I was just about to shoot Ed Opperman. The next time I show up at your house, it's going to be a different situation. Which is what happened to poor Mr. Craig D. Roberts. Now, he's become the darling of the alt-right, these are alt-right Nazi types. In fact, Mr. Glenn Beck just did an interview with his neighbor where he's commiserating with the neighbor. Oh, my goodness, your poor friend, Craig D. Roberts. I understand he was 75 years old, and he was only 5'10", and he was over 300 pounds. He couldn't even stand up. Isn't it true he needed a cane to stand or to walk? Oh, my goodness, poor Mr. Craig Roberts, the FBI shot him. Well, I got to tell you something. Okay, if you and first of all, it was Truth Social, Trump's social media platform, that turned this guy into the FBI. Okay, that reported his threatening posts because they were so incredibly threatening. Many were talking about how Biden's coming to town today. I'm going to go get my sniper outfit and wait for him. Many talking about, I want to see Joe Biden dead in a parking garage with a hole in his head. But one of them here is heading to, get this, Alvin Bragg. This is from Truth Social. This is the one you don't see, by the way. Everyone's talking about, what a poor guy, what a nice guy, he's a great neighbor. Or, let's see, Air Force veteran, Vietnam era vet, retired welding inspector, gunsmith, woodworker, NRA, life member, Second Amendment advocate, and owner of many air rifles, many other rifles, shotguns, handguns. As Patrick Henry said, so shall I. Give me liberty or give me death. And in his profile pictures of a handgun and of a very familiar AR-15 rifle that's black and that desert tan. Okay? The name Craig D. Robertson, as soon as I heard it, was very familiar to me. And right away I pictured this fellow that I knew as Craig D. Roberts, as my memory goes, because now he's washed off of Facebook, can't find him anymore. And it was this fellow here, we see in this picture, Mr. Craig D. Robertson, same guy, with the beard, and he had like a military floppy hat, and holding this exact same AR-15 with the desert camo magazine and handle and bump stock, and that's the gun. This is the comment that got him turned in by Truth Social to the FBI. Alvin Bragg, heading to New York to fulfill my dream of eradicating another of George Soros' 2-bit hack DAs. Now, by the way, Alvin Bragg has nothing to do with George Soros. That's something that Trump says all the time. And look what Trump got this guy killed. I'll be waiting in the courthouse parking garage with my suppressed Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm to smoke a radical fool prosecutor that should have never been elected. I want to stand over Bragg and put a nice hole in his forehead with my 9mm and watch him twitch as a drop of bright and red blood oozes from the hole as his life ebbs away to hell. Bye-bye to another corrupt bastard. quote unquote, the nice fellow there, Craig D. Robertson, that Mr. Glenn Beck has so much sympathy for him and his family, and oh, what a nice guy. I heard he went to church. He lived around the block from the church. What about the children in the neighborhood? Did they visit him? Did they know him? Oh, Mr. Poor Glenn Beck. Now, Craig D. Roberts, I believe this guy, I think I ran into him through Revolution Radio, which was like a right-wing internet radio station I was on back in 2012, 2013 for a short period of time. And I believe that's when I ran across this guy, Craig D. Roberts, and he started following me on social media. I believe I blocked him a few years back because of his weird right-wing foolishness and weirderness. I got to tell you, man, I'm really good at spotting weirdos, man, on the internet when they start contacting me, and I can just tell right away, man, hey, there's something off with this guy. This guy's going to be a problem with me. Let me just ease him out of my life. And over, I've been proven to be correct, like I was here with Mr. Craig D. Roberts. Well, blocked him years ago. It's hard to tell. I've spoken to other people, other friends, mutual friends on Facebook, and they say, yeah, Ed, that's the guy. That's the same guy. Okay, so clearly he was using more than one name on the internet. Even though I don't, it might have been the name Robertson. It might have been Craig D. Robertson he was using, but I remember as Craig D. Roberts from my memory. So I'm going by memory there. I can't testify in court with exactly what his name was. But just goes to show you, once again, I could spot a nut on the internet from 1,000 miles away, man. And here's this guy here, and winds up, he's dead now. From his wild internet postings and threats. And all these people like Cernovich and Glenn Beck, if someone posted a threat like this about you and mentioned your name in this, the first thing you would do is to call up your local police department and demand that the FBI intervene on your behalf. It's the first thing you would do. Okay. Now, whereas myself, I'm very hesitant to make those kind of contact with police and federal investigators. I'd rather handle these things on my own at the right time, at the right place. This is the way I do things. Okay, let's see what else is going on here in the good old notes. Let's check the chat room, see any kind of chatting going on there. Ooh, it's nice and quiet week in the chat room. Shh, don't talk. Okay, and we got plenty of time here. Oh, my ex-girlfriend's birthday was this week. Happy birthday. Yep, got a lot going on here in my personal life, you wouldn't believe, but what are you going to do? Where's my notes? Let me get to the notes. Please, the notes. Okay, let's see. Oh, Iowa State Fair. This week is the Iowa State Fair. And, 4 years ago, and the Iowa State Fair is a huge thing for the presidential elections. And 4 years ago, we couldn't go because, Vic was still in school. And then we said, boy, in 4 years, you'll just be graduated, and we can go to the Iowa State Fair. We can rent like a motor home, and we looked into press credentials for the Iowa State Fair because it's a huge media thing because all the presidential candidates go there, and they have town halls up, and they walk around. You can book interviews with them. They're looking to do interviews in Iowa. And I even looked into getting into a local station in Iowa for this, in preparation for this. But, unfortunately, we were unable to do this. Vic got a great job. She graduated college. She got a great job. So she doesn't have the free time to do this with me. I couldn't do it on my own, frankly, because I just can't afford it. We don't have the kind of financial support that we had at one time, that we had 4 years ago. There's all these podcasters out there doing my show. Okay, they got all this support. Basically, we're like some of these guys just repeat word for word doing. One guy, I hear he's did an imitation of me, as a guest appearance. So just, you got to wonder, So anyway, unfortunately, Iowa State Fair, maybe in 4 years from now, if I'm still doing this, we can make it down there and make an impact on nationwide politics, like we often have, and are still doing today up until today. Well, let's see. Let me look down here. This is important. Matt Gaetz. Okay, speaking of making an impact. Okay, Matt Gaetz came up with this scheme. I got to take my hat off to Matt Gaetz. If I was wearing a MAGA hat, I would take it off. Okay, and I might just shove it up his nose, but I got to take my hat off to this young man. Speaking of, his nose would probably be so filled with cocaine that I couldn't fit the hat up there, so he's lucky in that way too. Matt Gaetz had his own personal problems, and he was looking into pardons and immunity and how to get myself out of trouble. Matt, get myself out of trouble, Gaetz. Okay. And he went to the president because, he was being investigated for sex trafficking, and his buddy's in prison right now, was dying to testify against him, but things are done in a certain way in Florida. Okay, that I'm just learning. Okay, and I can adapt quickly. So Mr. Matt Gaetz comes up with a scheme, you might call it, to aid his good friend and fellow interests, many mutual interests and activities. His good friend, Mr. Donald J. Trump, who, as you know, is under criminal indictment. He has been ruled a rapist in court. The man's a rapist. The rapist, Donald Trump. I'm not saying he's a rapist. The judge declared he's a rapist. He was found liable in court for rape. And the judge, and he went back to court and says, I want to file defamation because she called me a rapist. And technically, I never raped her. The judge says, oh, no, you're a rapist. Yeah, you're a rapist. Okay, so our former president's a rapist. He's out on bail presently on some other charges here, little coup d'etat charges, some criminal charges there, paying off a porn star, which always gets you in trouble too, and also to secret documents. But come on, Ed, give him a break. He was making paper airplanes with those documents. He ran out of toilet paper. He needed those paper documents. Matt Gaetz has come up with a scheme to get his good buddy Donald Trump out of all of his problems, and his scheme is one: he's going to subpoena Mr. Jack Smith to come testify before his committee. They need to establish a committee first. That's why he's floating this, trying to get some allies in this his wacky Freedom Caucus buddies there to set up some kind of committee. Then he can call in Jack Smith to come in. And if he doesn't come in, then they can indict him, and he'll be the first prosecutor under indictment who's also indicting a president. But then he's got a scheme where they're going to call in Mr. Donald J. Trump, the rapist, and to come in and testify. And before he testifies, they can give him pretty much a specified limited immunity. So if they bring in Mr. Trump to talk about, hey, Mr. Trump, we want to investigate these secret documents and what's going on with that. We want you to come in and tell us what you know. Mr. Trump, we want you to come in and tell us what you know about these your prostitution situation with this porn star. And we want you to come in and tell us about your involvement in this coup. If you'll come in and testify before our committee, we'll give you immunity on all those things you discuss. Now, I got to tell you, I don't know if you can do this retroactively after he's been charged. I don't think Mr. Gaetz has looked into that with the legal scholars of like Mr. Dershowitz could afford him advice. Oh, another one who has the same type of interest in these two fellows. Okay. But it would be the perfect one to seek advice for in this. And I'm sure he would get the advice that he's seeking and the same kind of advice that he's looking for. Oh, my goodness. The chat room is in shock. We're shocked that Mr. Gaetz would try to pull such a stunt, but they will. Hunter Biden, today a special counsel was appointed to investigate Mr. Hunter Biden. Wouldn't you know? Mr. David Weiss has been appointed a special prosecutor to investigate all the misdeeds of Mr. Hunter Biden. and his laptop and his crack cocaine and his prostitutes and whatever else he's been up to. Now, but the problem is, the thing is, it makes a great headline. We've appointed a special prosecutor to look into Hunter Biden and prosecute Mr. Hunter Biden. We got all kind of crimes going on here. We got Devin Archer. Well, that didn't work out so good. Well, we got the Durham report. Well, that didn't work out so good. But this time it's because this time we got David Weiss. But the only problem is that David Weiss has been investigating Hunter Biden since 2018. He started on this in 2018. It's 2023. Who can do the math? Someone in the chat room. How many years is that? Okay. 2023 minus 2018. What do you got there? 5 I come up with, right? I come up with the number 5. 5 years. They've been working on this. And they've really, when they come up with that he filled out a gun charge report, he lied on the form. Was one. What was the other one? The taxes. They got him on his taxes, like Al Capone. Okay. He didn't pay his taxes. Well, actually, the taxes did get paid. They didn't get paid by him, and they get paid on time, but they got paid. Oh, my goodness. But, but the plea deal fell through, and now they've appointed a special counsel, and he's going to we're going to get to the bottom of this. Devin Archer's going to change his testimony. The Durham report's going to be all they used invisible ink in the Durham report. And now Matt Gaetz is going to, and David Weiss, they're going to hold up the ultraviolet light, all this top secret stuff that didn't come out in the Durham report. And they're all going to be convicted. This is the one. This is it. How many times can they keep coming to us saying that they're going to pull us off and not pull it off? They're going to start looking stupid. Okay? Because let me tell you something. If you've been investigating a junkie perv like Hunter Biden for 5 years and you can't come up with anything, I think I could work on this guy for a couple of months and come up with something. And for whatever reason, okay, they've been looking at, they got his laptop, they got his phone records, they got his bank records, they got all his stuff, man. They got it by hook and by crook. A lot of it's, what do they call that? Transom evidence, comes over to transom, fugazi evidence. But there's a word for it. I forget what it is. But the thing is, they can't, a lot of the stuff, the chain of custody on all this is hopelessly destroyed by people like Kerrick and Bannon and Giuliani and their minions and manions and muffins. But the thing is they don't want to. Okay, whatever's going, maybe this is a shakedown from Biden saying, "Okay, listen, man, every time we find more money here, we're gonna talk about it until you give us a cut." Okay, so we got half of everything you got. Okay, maybe that's going on in the background. I don't know. But the thing is, if it was really to weed out corruption, if they were doing this, well, there was something unethical done here in his playing off of his father's name and the shenanigans and walking around the whole country or the whole planet with his hand out saying, "Hey, hire me, give me money. I have influence in D.C. I have access to lobbyists. I know the best lobbyists. I know I can raise money for your company." All this stuff that he was doing. If they were really upset about that, they would go after John Kerry's son, who was his partner, doing the exact same thing. When the name John Kerry came up, they changed the subject. So is there a special prosecutor also appointed to investigate John Kerry? No. Okay, this is all goes way back to 2015. Read the Lev Parnas information. What goes way back, all they're trying to do is discredit Mr. Joe Biden, who needs discrediting. And the guy can barely stand up and talk. The guy's showering with his own daughter, making out with his granddaughter. All kinds of videos. Look up Creepy Joe. But that's not enough. No. We got to go after this weirdo son who dates his brother's widow. I need an X-ray machine. That's right. They have an X-ray machine coming up. Mr. David Weiss has come up with an X-ray machine. Now, the most important story of the evening here, wait. There is one more thing. In Michigan. Now, it's pretty stuff, man. And Michigan is heating up. Okay? Michigan, there's problems in Michigan. Okay? I agree with this. 16 pro-Trump electors, these fraudulent fake electors, have been charged with felonies in Michigan for their activities in this coup, which is another step in this global effort. There's not global as in worldwide, but just this overall effort to take down Trump and his conspirators, his coup conspirators and grifters, charlatans, and con men around him. So the local government, the local prosecutor there in Michigan have charged 16 pro-Trump electors. Now, some of these pro-Trump electors were just at a pool party raising funds, secret fundraising, and they're openly talking about shooting and a civil war, and someone's going to get shot. You know, there's no way they can justify this fraudulent elector thing. In fact, one of their attorneys said, "Oh, this counterfeit document that we presented is nothing like the official certificate, so they had to have known it wasn't real. So there is no crime because it wasn't a real phony or counterfeit elector's certificate." I mean, you know, when you get into those kind of defenses, man, you have a client telling you, I refuse to plead guilty. Just come up with something, okay? Because how do you stand there with a straight face and even, oh, this can't be a forgery because look how bad it is. Oh, this can't be a counterfeit dollar bill. Look how bad it is. This can't be a real bank robbery. Look, I went in there and, look how sloppy my note is. I'm not even wearing a mask. Where do you take that kind of defense? What lawyer takes it? You have a client that says, I'm not pleading guilty no matter what. You come up with something. Tell him this. Tell him I was asleep. Tell him I wasn't there. Tell him my dog ate it. Okay? And that's where we are with this defense. But they're openly talking about civil war and shooting people up. Okay? And Michigan is where they had that plot to kidnap the governor. Now, I told you as soon as I read that indictment there that it was full of holes and a ridiculous plot. We did a show about it, too, with some really right-wing woman who came on, who was sort of like a... Anyway. But the thing is, they're pretty radical up there in Michigan. Okay? And this is a boiling point, a tipping point up there in Michigan, and they're not fooling around. There was another Michigan State House takeover attack that went on up there where some officials held the door open. They held an exit door open, propped open for these guys to break in and potentially kill people and hold hostages. So Michigan is no joke. Now, the big news of the week, though, the big thing that we're all sitting on the edge of our seat that we all want to know about is the 7-foot-tall aliens. The 7-foot-tall aliens. The 7-foot-tall aliens in Peru. Okay. Story comes out this week. A village in Peru, right? And it was on Peruvian TV. The TV in Peru was carrying a story. The news media in Peru was carrying a story. There was a little village in Peru, and I get the impression in order to get to and from that village, you had to take a rowboat. Okay, it seems to be what I was observing in these articles and these TV reports. They're all very various, but the villagers were reporting that they had encountered aliens that were 7 feet tall, could float, and were causing injuries to their face and their heads. And their heads were bandaged up. You could see there were legit injuries to their faces and their heads. As a matter of fact, they had one body with a skull where the face was completely removed from the skull. And I don't know if that was secondary reporting, was an actual reporting, or just some kind of internet thing. But I saw I don't know, how much time can you spend on this? I'm so worried about the 8-foot aliens. 7-foot aliens I can handle. I think the aliens in Las Vegas, Nevada were 8 feet tall. So there's the 7-foot tall aliens in Peru. Okay. And this was being taken seriously. The local villagers were patrolling, had armed patrols, looking to protect the women and children from these 7-foot tall aliens. Well, good job, Peruvians. Okay, I know, man. I love that story, right? Now, a couple of days go by, you'd think this would make, bigger news, because one thing you got to say, they had villagers with their heads entirely bandaged. They had villagers, Peruvian villagers, regular height villagers, 5 foot, 6 foot, okay, that had real legit injuries to their heads. So something happened. They can't deny that. Okay, this wasn't swamp gas. Okay, swamp gas with machetes. Something happened to cause these injuries. So that we got. Now, why doesn't that make more news? Why is that, especially when the CIA guy comes out and says, "Hey, I'm going to tell you about the aliens." The UAPs, they have to come up with a new UFO wasn't good enough. I got to come up with a new thing. Why? Tell me why. But so the Peruvians down there, they say, so the prosecutor says, I'm going to look into this myself, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this 7-foot alien situation down here in this village in Peru with these head injuries. Because I'm going to prosecute these aliens. Okay. I'm going to file charges. Maybe I'll get Mr. David Weiss to come up here and be a special prosecutor with me. And we're going to go after these 7-foot aliens. And we can use the Hunter Biden laptop as weapons to protect us, as shields to protect us from these 7-foot aliens. That's a possibility, too, as well. Or perhaps Matt Gaetz would give these aliens, what do you call it? Matt Gaetz would give them immunity from this prosecutor, this normal 6-foot tall prosecutor. I'm assuming 6 foot tall in Peru. So the prosecutor does some investigating, and what does he come up with? What is the conclusion of his investigation? I hope you're sitting down. Okay, I hope you're sitting down, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen of the Opperman Report, I hope you're sitting in your seats here and you have your tea nice and warm in your bedside there, because let me tell you what we found here when we investigate these 7-foot tall aliens here in Peru. It wasn't aliens. Oh, no. What we found out is that this was a group, I swear to you, this is what this prosecutor came up with and is reporting to us with a straight face. They were not 7-foot tall aliens. Good. What were they? Tell us. These were illegal gold miners. These were illegal gold miners that were attacking and trying to intimidate and sow fear amongst the villagers with these head injuries. Okay? And they were levitating. They were floating. And they did appear to be 7 feet tall because they had access to jetpacks. They had access to some kind of George Jetson jetpacks that I guess were silent. I'm assuming. Otherwise, people would say, hey, aren't those jetpacks? I watched George Jetson, don't you? Yeah, those are the jetpacks. Or that episode of, what was it? Gilligan's Island. Right? We're all familiar with jetpacks. We've all got them. Right? But somehow, these Peruvian illegal, unauthorized gold miners had access to enough guys with jetpacks and some type of weaponry to go out and bash in these heads in order to sow fear amongst the villagers so that they could at the same time be digging for gold. Now, how much gold do you have to dig up? I watched that show, Gold Rush. Okay, I watched that thing with a keen eye because I actually auditioned for that show the first season it came out. And they desperately wanted me on that show. This is back when I used to do video auditions all the time for reality TV shows. I don't know what I was thinking. And then I got into the stupid radio biz here. What a big mistake. But anyway, so the theory is that there's enough gold in this little village in Peru that they're going to hire a bunch of guys, buy these jetpacks, and commit blatant, battery on all these poor Peruvians on their heads and clean one guy's face off, perhaps. If we're going to extend, we're going to take this at face value of what the evidence has been presented to us. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury, I say to you today, I saw MJ fly off stage in a jetpack, 30 years. Real. Okay, maybe Michael Jackson is returning, because a lot of those people say that QAnon, they say that a lot of these people aren't really dead. Michael Jackson's not really dead. And he's going to come back and show us all he's alive, maybe on a jetpack, and expose all the international elites and their nefarious adrenochrome activities here. Maybe that's what's going to happen. That's a possibility. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, coming up after this will be the Jeremy Luberts, who was a former homicide detective in this tiny little town where this fellow, much like Mr. Craig D. Robertson here, with a stockpile of weapons and AR-15s and shotguns and stuff, and then his energy bars, sitting down at the table in his basement waiting for these burglars to come in. Laying in wait down there to capture and kill these burglars. If only I had a jetpack. If only the burglars had a jetpack, they could have jetpacked their way out of there. But no, they did not. All the jetpacks are in Peru. That's what they want us to believe. What is going on here? This is what passes for news. This is what passes for sanity and reality. The ex-president who's been declared a rapist is on trial for a porn star and secret documents and a coup. And they're going to have a special prosecutor going after the drug addict son of the other president. I'm not making this up. And then we got George Nader, again, another pedophile, child pornographer, rapist. He's going to be their star witness in all this. I'm not making this up. There's not one word I've said here tonight that's my opinion. That's not, you can't verify. Oh, I don't believe everything Ed Opperman says. He doesn't have all these sources he claims to have. I'm not naming a single source here. Secret source. The only thing I'm withholding it to you is the lawsuits that I'm going to be named in and be a witness in. That's the only thing I'm withholding for a minute, and for a reason. Okay? Everything else, man, it's all out there. The jetpacks, that's all out there, man. You can find this information yourself. 7-foot aliens, that's out there, man. George Nader, all that information is on Wikipedia. I'm making that up. Okay, that he met with Flynn in the White House. Well, he's convicted of raping a 14-year-old, possessing child pornography. I made that up. Matt Gaetz comes up with this scheme. He's going to give the rapist president immunity, and he's going to indict the prosecutor. I made that up. Google it. You'll see. You can see the words coming out of Matt Gaetz's own mouth. And Opperman's not making anything up. I just pay attention, and I come in and I tell you what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen of the Opperman Report, I'll leave you now. Coming up with this, Mr. Jeremy Lambert. Then after that, J.J. Vance is coming up with his Idaho 4 information. Sunday morning, you want to check out Mae Brussels Project, the archives of the late, great Mae Brussels. And the alive and kicking Casey Gain and his reality theory and his investigations and his reporting there for you. I'm working for you tirelessly, as always. I can use your support. If you want to go to our Patreon, you get copies of all these documents I tell you about and I read to you. You can see that stuff there. Maybe I'll post a picture of an alien, 7-foot alien, with a jetpack. Maybe I will. Okay. If we get some jetpacks, man. If we get some support this week, all right, might have to do some traveling again coming up. Another issue. All right. Stay tuned for the next really good shoe. Good night.